And we are off and running. So welcome to everyone again tonight. Amanda, we have done a podcast together, which will be released later in this year. So what's life been like since we last spoke around COVID? How have you been managing?
Well, the piloting world, of course, has been a casualty of COVID. All the countries have closed their borders, so my job has disappeared, and we were supposed to be furloughed, but of course that's all disappeared. So I don't know what's happening. I haven't flown now for 3 months, and I don't know what's going to happen in the piloting world. And I think there's a huge amount of pilots all around the world. So it's going to change hugely over the next couple of years about what's going to happen on the piloting side of things. So that's sort of what one of my lives has kind of fallen flat on its face completely. But the adventure piloting side of things, which is how we first got in touch, Shae, is actually quite exciting because we're now in the post-production of the film of Solo to Darwin, which was my adventure last year. And of course, I'm writing the book or speaking the book, which is what dyslexics do. So that's quite daunting because that's my second book. And when you've done one book, everybody expects you to do a second one. And of course, everybody thinks in COVID, you've got loads of time to do it. So yeah, so the COVID world is going to be different for me, very different.
Oh, it's very sad to hear the challenges you've been going through. Can you talk a little bit about your adventure part of your piloting and how we ended up getting to speak?
Yes. So I've always wanted to do the flight emulate Amy Johnson, which you might or might not have heard about. She was the first lady to fly from the UK to London, from London to Darwin, Australia in 1930. And it's been her 90th anniversary of doing that this year. And she was just amazing. She did it in 20 days. I've been rereading her blog and rereading all the stuff that's been happening, and I don't know how she did it because she crashed all the time. She hit so much weather. It was just unbelievable how she did it. And the reason I emulated her was because when I started flying, I got into vintage aeroplanes. I then started reading about a lot of the pioneers, including somebody called Jean Batten, who was sort of from your end up. And they were amazing people, but they were normally aristocratic and wealthy. They were Sir Alex Henshaw, Lady Mildred Bruce, all that kind of thing. And then Amy Johnson just sprang onto the scene, and she didn't have wealth and she didn't have a lot of connections behind her. And I suddenly had this tiny spark of an idea that if she could do it, then maybe somebody like me who has no wealth or magic behind me could do it as well. And it's been that sort of stepping stone ever since then. And last year I got as far as Beirut until all the stuff in the Iranian Gulf, I had to stop. But as I was explaining to Shae, and as I was just explaining before, what happened was with things like the dyslexia, and I've also had breast cancer, is I stuck my head above the parapet to raise awareness that pilots can be dyslexic and be very good pilots with dyslexia. And actually, the adventures become more than just me, because the dyslexia ability course that I'm setting up that will go live next month came out of the fact that this wonderful 7-year-old girl presented me with, if I've got all my props ready, she rushed over to me and gave me this wonderful drawing of me. And her mum had contacted me to say that she was struggling because she was dyslexic, and could I talk to her and give her some encouragement. And this was when I was in Romania. And I suddenly realized at that point, you suddenly think, I'm doing something very selfish for me. I'm doing one of my dreams of my lifetime, but actually it can affect other people. And if I can affect just one dyslexic person to make them think that they can succeed and help them succeed, then that's great. And this is how and it's sort of grown into this massive course thing and this massive thing. So yeah, and it's great because it's just fantastic, because I now get contacted by, and strange enough, by a lot of men that say that they've never been tested or they've never said that they're dyslexic. And I think that's one of the things that we need to do. We need to shout that, dyslexia is a good thing. It's a dyslexia ability, not disability.
It's funny how you said that from something small has grown into this big project now. And I think that was the same with Dyslexic. It started with these podcasts that we're excited that one person listened to them to start with. And now, they're listened to globally, and we've grown into this big organization. So it's funny how a tiny seedling of an idea can grow into something so big. Has your
Yes.
dyslexia affected you day to day as a pilot, or as you've been setting up this new project of yours?
Oh yes, absolutely. Organization side of things as pilots, and as a person, and dyslexics, organization is one of our battles daily. So you have to be schedule time and actually do this and sort it out. So and time is one of the things both for flying and for in life. Again, time is something that is an immovable object for dyslexics. So that's something that you have to grapple with. And I think, and this was the thing, I didn't realize that I'd sort of succeeded a lot and made myself little tips and tricks and secrets on how to cope with the organization things, how to cope with various things. And this is, as I say, this course, it's not going to explain all the scientific stuff, but it's going to help you in day-to-day life of how to get over the logical, because at the moment we're living in a very logical world. Everything has to be A, B, C, D. And to be able to cope with that, you need the little sort of tricks and secrets and things like that to like for today. Shae sent me and said, "Oh, I'll see you at 12 o'clock," and I was kind of like, "No, I think that's 11 o'clock." And it's all those kind of things when you're working in different time zones, that as a dyslexic, never mind as a dyslexic as well, but it adds that other layer. So you have to sit down and go, which time is that, which time, and be diligent about it, and pay more attention to it. I think that's the thing. But you can, yeah.
Was I out of time? It could have been me rushing to get to where I am right now, thinking, oh no, I don't want to be late for our interview.
No, it's fine, because I've found doing different interviews across the world, I'm normally ready an hour beforehand, and that's one of the things that I'll in my course, be ready at least half an hour or an hour beforehand, and then you're not rushing and you haven't got the wrong things, because dyslexics are always late. But they're not late because they're disrespectful. They're late because they don't. The concept of time is a difficult thing. So
And
therefore, I've been here since 10 o'clock, so it's fine.
it's funny you say that, because we rushed into the house and I was trying to get ready. I'm saying, I'm always late, and get the computer on, make sure the internet's working. So yes, I completely agree with you.
Yeah.
Have you always disclosed your dyslexia when you've been a pilot, or is this a new thing for you?
I haven't disclosed it always as a pilot or as a person. So I was fortunate to have a lady called Mrs. Croxall who helped me in school and helped me get diagnosed, because I was being bullied by the teacher and by the kids, because the teacher didn't believe in it, which is one of the things. Again, how on earth can we live in a world where teachers don't accept dyslexia? I really get quite upset about that. So I've gone through all the phases of denial and not accepting it. I sat in one interview and they said, "Oh, you're dyslexic. Oh." And I could see them actually going back as if I had COVID, putting their masks on. They're going to catch dyslexia. So I went through phases of not saying it. And certainly at the start of my piloting career, I didn't used to say it, because, again, a lot of airlines have that, any kind of learning disability. They think you won't be able to read a checklist. But a checklist for piloting is there as a checklist. So you should know how to fly and you should know how to do it. And it's just checking that you've done the right stuff. So you shouldn't be using a checklist as a to-do list. So therefore, as a pilot, as dyslexic, we tend to learn things more thoroughly. Yes, we take longer, but we learn it more thoroughly. And that's another thing that I realized. And as I say, what happened is, a couple of years ago, I realized there was quite a lot of pilots are dyslexic that don't say anything. And I realized with doing the adventure flying, I could make a difference. And I feel that's now, Mrs. Croxall died. I went to her funeral. And again, that kind of, I suddenly thought, do you know what? She made a difference in my life. She made a difference in so many people's lives. And if it's now my turn to do that, then I need to step up and shout that I'm a good pilot, even though I haven't been in the air for a while, but I'm a good pilot, and dyslexia helps that.
And did you feel liberated when you were able to start being your authentic self in a way?
Not at the start, no. I felt scared to death, because you know that you're closing the doors of various things. But other things have wonderfully opened. You know, the film, the Give Get Go guys, so many people in the creative industry are dyslexic, and their motto, you know, the actual film production are giving people chance to get going. So their whole theme is all about this kind of thing. And I just so yeah, and I still sometimes think you have those gremlins, don't you? Which again,
Mm-hmm.
I discuss in the course. You know, the big gremlins, and they go, "Oh, have I done the right thing?" And I know I've done the right thing now. So yes, I started off a little bit scared, but you know, when you have pictures like that and in touch with you know 7-year-old girls who are going to succeed, she's going to succeed, um, and she's feeling happier, then it's wonderful.
It is wonderful, isn't it? It reminds me last year when we ran our Awareness Month campaign and we had ribbons for the first time, and a mum had sent a photo and a letter saying how her son, they'd purchased 10 ribbons and given them to the teachers to wear during Dyslexic Awareness Month. And it just meant so
I
much to
like it.
us because we don't know sometimes how we're impacting people and what we're doing, whether it impacts or not. So those reminders are so important, I think, for the work we're doing. Are you able
Yes.
to share with us your journey? Because traveling from the UK to through Beirut and then on your way to Darwin um, is such an amazing journey that you've been on. And as we've talked in the podcast, it would terrify me, and it's something I definitely couldn't do. Can you share with us a little bit about that journey?
Yeah, sure. The you know, let's stick in Romania. One of the things that I did, because I've wanted to do this for 15 years, and it's taken me 15 years to be able to achieve it through all kinds of, you know, things, money, getting the airplanes, getting permissions, everything. And I started off, and it was such a rush to get, you know, all the permissions and everything to get ready in the airplane. And my mum moved house, and my dad had died, and all that kind of stuff. So when I set off, it was kind of a little bit of a um, I was just on a flight, a normal flight. But as I coasted out over the channel from England to France, I sort of got a flood of all these emotions and thought, wow, I'm really doing this now, aren't I? I'm really setting off by myself and actually achieving something. And no matter what happens, um, at least I've started. And when I landed at Romania, various places, it was really weird. I was either a villain or a hero, and there was nothing in between. So I would land at some places where they would want to shove me in a little corner and get rid of me at places like Vienna. And then you'd
Oh,
land at Sibiu, where you had, you know, traditional dress and everybody coming out to greet you, and you were a hero. And it's really bizarre. And I'm kind of like, I'm the same person. But there was one flight down through the Carpathian Mountains at that point, and it was a beautiful day. I'd waited for the weather again, and it's blue sky day with little fluffy clouds, and I'm flying along and by myself, and the whole of the flying club had got in their airplanes and came with me. And
oh
that's the
wow.
photos that you see on the internet. And if I can scrub around on my computer, I can find it for you. And that's going to be in the film. And again, at that point, you think, this is just, I just had to pinch myself, because I thought, no matter what happens, you know, no matter how far I get, I've got further than anything. Because on the dyslexic side of things, of course, I was written off at school. So I left school at 15 with no worthwhile qualifications, and I was told I'd only be ever good for shop work in stacking shelves. And my laugh is now that I stack shelves, I stack champagne and sushi, you know, for the posh people, because I fly charter jets, you know, with the red carpet. So I do stack shelves, but slightly in a different way. And you know, from the 15-year-old that was put on the scrap heap of life, to, you know, I've got a degree, I've got my pilot's license, I'm now doing this, there's a film coming out, I'm writing my second book. Who am I? Who is this person who's doing all of it? And all I do is do it a step at a time. And I had to stop in Beirut, as I say, because of the Iranian. My security advisors back home said that there was little men in boats with big guns, and I'm very slow moving airplane, so I'd be shot down. And everybody thinks I'm the bravest person. Shae, you've just said you wouldn't be able to do it. I am not the bravest person on the planet. I'm the most one of the scariest person on the planet, which is why I survive. Because they said, you're going to be shot, and we don't want you to go there. And I went, okay, I'll go home then. Um, and I had to then make a terrible decision of what to do, because I couldn't afford to ship her. I couldn't afford to change any of the permissions, because in this day and age, all your customs and all of the permissions to land everywhere have to be months in ahead. I couldn't reroute all the oil. I haven't got all that kind of money. I didn't have a major sponsor. So I had to make the devastating decision to turn back and fly back. But Beirut was the most amazing place to actually do that, because they have wars in living memory. So these are people that attack life. They don't say no for an answer. And as well as the breast cancer side of things, they took me to this wonderful thing where they have a learning center for kids, because of course Beirut isn't one of the most wealthiest places on the planet, and a lot of the kids with dyslexia and other learning difficulties fall through the cracks there. And there's these amazing people that are doing the charities and helping them through it. And again, I was one of the people, and it was just amazing to meet the people that were doing that and to tell them that they really are changing lives. Because sometimes I think when you're a teacher or you're somebody who's helping kids to do it, you don't realize that you are changing their lives for the better for the rest of their lives. And it's so nice for me to turn around to the teachers who are helping and say, believe you me, you may not get it from the grumpy kids at the moment because they're having to do extra work, but you are changing their lives for the better. And that is an amazing thing to do. So Beirut was this whole, again, it was huge emotions of I'm having to stop the adventure that I've been planning for 15 years. And who knows when I'm going to be able to have another attempt at it now. But it was just this amazing place. And again, you think, okay, this is bigger than just me. And therefore that is, it's very humbling, isn't it? It's very, it's brilliant.
It is brilliant. What you've achieved is just amazing, not just the flight, but your books and making the movie. And I mean, it's devastating to hear what's happened to the airline industry at the moment, and that we won't be able to travel and share this beautiful world that we get to see normally. But has that, I mean, I don't feel like it slowed me down at all. I think it's given a lot of extra work, COVID. I wish I'd had a bit more time to actually read a book or something. But do you think that COVID's helped you with your next phase in creating the course that you've developed?
Yes, definitely. It's been one of the things that has been, put on the back burner, and he's been sort of doing it. And then somebody said, oh, well, I need it now, sort of thing. So I was kind of like, oh, okay. So yes, it's definitely helped me. And I thought what I do with you guys is, because it's going to come out next month, I'd give you one of the discounts on it. So if you sign up, at the moment it's only for the email, but if you sign up for the email, I can do a discount. And I thought, how can I make it really simple? And I thought Dr. D. And then none of us have to spell dyslexia, because that was one of the things. I made a course called Dyslexia Ability, and then I can't spell dyslexia or ability. So,
I understand.
Great.
Like
okay.
Our emails do this. And you know how many times it takes me to write out that? I think, why did I do that? But I didn't think we would get to be where we are, and that it would be our podcast name. So it's still, I think I actually now can spell it, but I still have to double check how I've spelled it.
That's it. Yeah. Dyslexic ability. But I wanted something that was really punchy to say it is an ability, not a disability. It's stolen from my friends in the Flying Scholars for Disabled, who are physically disabled, and we help them to fly. And it's that thing of dis, and it's all this play on words. The dis is the whatever it is, adjunctive, prejunctive, whatever those stupid things are, stuck on the word of ability. So I was kind of thinking, no, dyslexia. And dyslexia, a lot of the leaders in our world are dyslexic. A lot of the previous leaders were dyslexic, because you're thinking outside the box. And certainly for adventure flying, you have to think outside the box all the time in flying and on the ground. So dyslexia definitely helps you with all of that.
And it's great to hear, because I mean, we get so caught up in is it a disability, is it an ability, and we get stuck in the middle of everything. So it's nice to hear what you're creating and showing people, supporting them in looking at what their strengths could be, because we don't always have the opportunity to see our strengths because we're struggling so much day to day. So your course sounds fantastic in enabling people to see that and put some steps in place to help them reach their full ability that they should be able to achieve. And it's great that our listeners can hear what you're doing and be able to get that discount as well. So thank you so much for enabling them to do that. we've got a few people on the line, so I think, would you like to take some questions? We'll check to see if anyone's
Yeah.
got any questions before we continue talking. I'll just unmute everyone just to check, or they can put their hand up. We don't have any Facebook people by the looks of it, but we've definitely got Dr. Judith.
You've got to tell me the story of the pilot sat there, of Brian. Brian the pilot.
We've got, well, Brian can share his story. I can't unmute you, Chrissy. You'll have to unmute yourself. Sorry, but Judith, you're unmuted if you'd like to ask any questions.
Okay. I'd like to hear a little bit more about the course that you've developed. Is it a flying course or a dyslexia course, or?
It's a dyslexia course.
Right. Okay.
Can I share my screen, or is that too?
Let me see.
Or is that too?
Yes, let's give it a go.
Let's give it a go. We can do this.
We can only try.
We can do the technology, can't we? So if I do that one, if I share you that one, can you see that?
Let me just open this up. It looks like it's working. I'll just do
I'm just going to cough.
That's okay. Okay, we can see your screen.
Cool.
Wow, look at that.
Yay. So very briefly, I am a flight instructor as well, so I can teach you to fly. And dyslexics are always as good as that. But yeah, so the dyslexic ability came out of the fact that loads of people are asking me all the tips and tricks. And I suddenly thought, why don't I put this into a course? And then it's always online, available for everybody to do it. And one of the things you need to diagnose, you need to figure out which particular dyslexic or sort of Asperger's or which particular learning thing you have, and then you can sort of go from there. But when you said about the strengths and weaknesses, that's one of the things that I stress, because a lot of people, you know, I was beaten over the head with I had to learn to spell, I had to learn to spell, I had to learn to spell. So I spent hours learning to spell, and what I actually needed to do was spend hours learning how to talk better and present better. So sorry, I was getting a bit of feedback. And one of the things that we need to figure out is how we learn. So dyslexics learn in all different ways. They learn spoken, physical, by experience, learning and listening, which is my spell formula. So I've created all these little tips and tricks and formulas for you. And if you can learn which way you learn, so I learn by looking at stuff like this. This is how I learn best. And with somebody showing me physically how to do it, which is not the school way at all. So if you learn how the way that you can learn information, you can then speed up how you learn, because there's so many YouTube videos and so much stuff out there. Yes. So it's things like that. Learning with my, swarm method. So again, there are various tips and tricks that I've learned over the years on spelling and maths and how to sort of help you grasp those either at school or at work. All these kind of things. Exams, that's more for the kids, of course, because exams are just scary. Yes. And as pilots, we are the most tested profession on the planet. We have to get back in a simulator every 6 months, which is fine. I've got no problems with that, because we have to practice the emergencies, because we don't get emergencies every day, because flying is the safest form of travel. So therefore we get put in the simulator and wings fall off and, all that kind of things. So we have to practice it. And I think that's one of the things, doctors can come out tested again. And you think, hang on a minute. But yeah, so exams are something that the whole word exams, puts the fear of death into any dyslexic. So I'm hopefully going to give you a way of seeing that an exam is just a part of life. Actually, there are ways that you can help yourself with it. That goes back to how you learn. So if you can figure out how you learn, then putting post-it notes all around the house for learning of the things. That's how I do my simulator stuff. I've got a poster and I put the post-it notes all over it. to be able to learn it. So it's stuff like that that helps. The X Factor, I love this because I thought, how can I explain to people that you have the creative bent? So most dyslexics bury their creativeness. They won't let it show. They go, oh, I'd like to write a book, but I'm not going to do that because I'd have to spell, or I'd like to make a song, or I'd like to do something. And most dyslexics have buried their creativeness because they've been told that they're stupid. So again, to show you how to sort of do that. Incentivize. So this is one of the things that I realized was my mum was wonderful at this. She would give me all kinds of encouragement, and you really need to do encouragement. And you have to do your self-encouragement as an adult. So I stand in front of the mirror and I tell myself I love myself and I'm creative and I'm going to succeed every single morning as I'm brushing my teeth. And that may sound stupid. I am now. And nobody else needs to hear you. So this is all secret stuff, you see. This is all secret between me and you and nobody else. But if you do stuff like, and just the world now, yeah. Just the dyslexic world, though. We don't need to tell the non-dyslexics, do we?
No.
But this is really important. And this is, and again, when you said, Shae, it started to burden into something else. The mindset is something that I grapple with every single day. And I have a battle with the gremlin. So the mindset is something that informs all of this lot. And again, I've now realized that I need to create a separate course, which is going to be your life, because it has to be with flying, doesn't it? To actually do the mindset of it. So that's going to be the next course to help you do this. I'll change my screen on the thing if I can.
It looks wonderful. I love the colours and how you've spelled dyslexia, but done a different topic for each area. It looks fantastic. I'm really excited for you. What an amazing job.
There's no stopping here, is there? No stopping here.
And do you know how I design all of this? I don't do it on a computer. I do it on, I'm still on the screens, I'll show you in a minute. I do it all with crayon, do it all with A3 sheets of paper. And it's all over the place, it's all, you know, it's all physical. So it has to be physical for me. This is the course, and as I say, if you sign up now with the Dr. D, I'll put you a discount on it. And I'm very actually, because it's really exciting because I know these things will help people. It's not it's something that you realize that you're going to help people with it, and it's not going to and people will go on to do their own succeed. Other people will take on the mallet of actually sticking their head above the parapet and feel good about it. So I'll show I'll show you. Oh, wait a minute. I've done that wrong. See, computers.
Right. They're not trustworthy, are they? Not all the time.
Don't just love it. Computers are
Can you
great.
still share do you still want to share your screen?
Yeah, hang on a minute. I'm trying to get back there. Yeah, I'm trying to get back there. I don't know what I've done. What have I done? What have I done with mine?
It says you can still share from my end. While you're working that out, was there anyone else that had any questions for now? And just for our listeners, this will be up on our website in the next few days with Amanda's details and her course as well. So you can go on to the Dear Dyslexic website and have a look at what she's doing and sign up. And then July, we're aiming to release her podcast as well, which is a bit more of an in-depth discussion around her traveling and her ups and downs of dyslexia and how she ended up doing all the amazing things she's doing. Sorry,
yes, have I shared the right one?
Pictures back, that's good.
Is that the website or is that the, have I shared the right screen?
Has a blank screen at the moment.
Things that I realised was my mum was wonderful. That one. There we go. I can do this, you see. This is it. I can do it.
See,
I know I can.
The first time we met, you weren't even sure how to get on Zoom, and now look at you sharing screens and running your course and everything. Amazing.
Yeah, seriously. It's just been a month of learning Zoom. that has, because that is how the world is going to go.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
Certainly for the next year, I think Zoom go, and dyslexics, I think, are good at when the chips are down. I think they're quite good at
Yes.
finding problems and moving into the next world. So,
Yeah.
and it's
Yes.
watching everybody on Zoom, because nobody, everybody's muted on the mic and can't share it, and you're looking up everybody's nostrils, aren't you?
Noses,
Yeah.
yeah.
So it's so the first thing is get a shoebox for the computer, so you're at the eye level. Yeah.
Yeah. They announced how many increased uses there have been yesterday. When before the COVID, they were having 30 million users, and they've now got 600 million.
Wow.
It's a huge success story. Yes,
Yeah.
by Shae, Zoom.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. And Teams and everything.
Mm.
I've had to do all the different medias and learn how to do it, and it and as I say, it's sort of, and this is a great way to learn, because this is a brilliant way for dyslexics to learn, because you can learn in private.
Yeah.
You can get on an
Yes.
online course and you can do it in private, and you can listen again and again and again. You can watch again and again.
And it's
there's no
non-judgmental.
exactly
Definitely not.
exactly yeah.
So Amanda,
So
we can see your dyslexic ability screen at the moment. Is that the one you wanted to share?
yes,
So we're on your
yeah,
website now, are we?
yeah. So that's on the website, and I'll send that to you, Shae, so that you've got the link to it, so that everybody just go to that. Somebody's already bought the dyslexic ability, because they obviously saw that on my website and they wanted £17,000 for it, and I was kind of like, no. So it's dyslexic-ability.com, but I actually like that, because it breaks up the two words and it's easier to see and it's easier to spell.
That's right.
So yeah,
That's
yeah.
fantastic.
So I'll stop showing now. I'll go back to the thing, and I'll send you that link for it. Yeah, but this is
So-
it. You suddenly find that you're sort of tumbling down this road of doing it and helping people. But as I say, I know I've helped people on the breast cancer side of things as well. So, and if I can help people on the dyslexic side of things and take on the mantle of Mrs. Croxall, who was the teacher that helped me, then that would be brilliant. Because as I say, I think the people on the dyslexic, you're never going to get a thank you dyslexic person, are you? To say thank you. It's never going to happen. And one of my proudest moments was to be able to send my first book to Mrs. Say, look, one of your dyslexic pupils has written a book. So that was one of my proudest moments, to sort of say to her, thank you to her, and my mum and dad. They were amazing. So yeah,
that's wonderful. We hear a lot of stories about how a parent has supported, and I think we talked about this in the podcast, how important that family network can be for people's success.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Amanda. We're coming up to our time. Are there any more? I can't see any questions coming through Facebook Live. There's a couple of people watching, so thank you for those that have joined us on Facebook Live. Was there anything from our Zoom guests tonight before we finish up? Chrissy's on mute if you wanted to say anything.
Yes. What would have been your most terrifying flight, and what would have been one of your flights that had the most uplifting feeling?
I'll do it the other way around. The uplifting one was down the Carpathian Mountains. That was just amazing, and that's on YouTube site amandajharrison.com if you want to see that. That was probably one of the best. I don't think anybody's flown down that pass in a Tiger Moth, so I think that was amazing. Terrifying, I'm not sure I've actually had lots of terrifying, because I feel so relaxed in the air.
Sorry, Amanda. Sorry.
One of the best. I don't think anybody's flown down that pass in a Tiger Moth, so I think that was amazing.
Sorry, are you there, Amanda?
Oh yeah, sorry, yeah. So
no, that was my fault. I had some feedback from Facebook. I was just trying to see if people were asking questions, and I must have clicked on something. So sorry.
No, the
still learning.
Fine side of it. Yeah. I think we're doing all pretty brilliant. I feel relaxed in the air, and having engine failures and problems is something that I'd rather do an engine failure than I would a Zoom call because I'm so much better at that. Seriously, because this involves having to read screens and press buttons, and you can press the wrong button here and things. So I'd rather cope with that physically, because it's a physical sensation of flying an airplane and physically getting feedback. So for me, that's the thing. I've had quite a few emergencies. I lost my radios when I was over the sea at one commercial, and that was an interesting night. I think that's probably when it was in the middle of snow, when the snow was all up, and I just thought, this is going to get any night. But I don't think I've ever had any. Even the engine failures weren't terrifying, because as a pilot and certainly as a dyslexic, you just get on with it, work the problem. I think the most terrifying bit was when I was in Turkey on the ground. I landed. They told me that I hadn't got the right. They took my passport away. They sat me in an office with a guy outside with a gun, and I had no communications with anybody for an hour, and I couldn't. And there was no phone signal, thing. And I was getting terrified at that point. I was going to be chucked in a Turkish prison and thrown away. So it's the red tape and the paperwork that on the ground that can be more terrifying than anything.
Well, thank you so much. Just checking, as I said, I'm learning how to manage Facebook and Zoom.
I'm very impressed.
We've had
Wow.
some people comment around some of that they weren't diagnosed till they were an adult, and but they can spell, but they have trouble with sounds, and so they're really pleased that we've been discussing your course. So that's great to hear. So is there anything else before we sign off this evening or your morning? Thank you so much. It's just always such a pleasure to talk to you.
No, it's great to talk to you, because you also make me feel good, because, you know, fellow dyslexics, and you're doing an amazing thing over there, Dr. Dyslexia. It's fantastic. So well done to you.
Oh, thank you so much. And I'm so excited that we'll be able to launch your podcast in July. We've had some sponsorship come through, so we're just eternally grateful for the number of people and companies that have sponsored our podcast, so we can produce and finish them and get them up and running. So yours will definitely be out in July, so I'll let you know. But in the meantime, if you can send me that information, we'll upload it onto the Dear Dyslexic website over the coming days. And if there are any more questions before we sign off from anybody?
No.
No?
Thank you.
Okay, well, that's wonderful. Thank you so much again, Amanda. Have a wonderful day. Stay well and safe. And we look forward to hearing when you're up in the air again.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone, for joining tonight. Have a wonderful Friday and weekend, and we'll be checking in with you next week with our neurodiversity webinar. So I hope you can make that one. Until then, bye, everyone. Thank you for now.
Bye-bye. Bye, Shae.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Judith. Bye.
Bye-bye.